The harsh reality of caste discrimination in the United States was brought to light in the Cisco case from 2020. Now, what sparked this historic lawsuit? Caste, a boon for the upper castes, the so-called upper castes, but a bane for oppressed caste communities across the world. On June 30th, 2020, the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing sued Cisco Systems and two of its Indian origin managers for alleged caste discrimination against another Indian origin employee. This person coming from a scheduled caste background, which is the lowest tier in the Hindu caste hierarchy. More specifically, Cisco engaged in unlawful employment practices on the basis of religion, ancestry, national origin/ethnicity, and race and gender. Now here's a timeline of what led to this historic June 30th class action. In September 15th, John Doe, a Dalit engineer, was recruited to join Cisco by a so-called upper caste manager named Sundar Iyer. Around 1 year later, Iyer disclosed to other team members that John Doe was part of the scheduled caste. Around October 2016, other team members came to John Doe and informed him that Iyer had shared with them that John Doe was not just part of the scheduled caste, but also had attained admission to the Indian Institute of Technology due to affirmative action policies. After Doe asked Iyer about these comments, Iyer denied that he had ever made such comments and said that the colleagues were just simply not telling the truth. John Doe finally decided to file a formal complaint with Cisco HR. 6 days later, Iyer decided to retaliate by removing Doe from his lead role on two technologies, replacing him on one of those projects with another so-called upper caste colleague named Compella. Now, Doe had to report not just to Iyer, but also to Compella. Furthermore, Doe was made an independent contributor, isolating from all of his colleagues. In December 2016, Doe filed a written complaint to Cisco HR about this retaliation. Cisco's investigation revealed that Iyer did in fact make comments suggesting that Doe belonged to an oppressed caste community. Moreover, Iyer admitted to making derogatory comments about a Muslim applicant's appearance and made other derogatory comments about co-workers' religions. Now, how did Cisco respond? They responded by saying that caste discrimination was apparently not unlawful, basically perfectly fine, and not something that anyone really had to worry about. Now, how did Iyer respond to this? Through continued retaliation. In fact, even urging other colleagues to not work with John Doe. John Doe continued to face isolation and a sense that this caste discrimination would not stop. So, in March 2017, John Doe asked for Cisco to review the case. A month later, they reopened it for investigation. And in their review, one colleague shared that John Doe was very capable, but was being treated very unfairly. Another colleague shared that John Doe was very competent, but that Iyer was actually trying to force him out of the job. With all of this evidence, what did Cisco do? Nothing. They continued to say that there was no substantial evidence of caste discrimination, and they continued to turn the other way. Cisco's response to the complaint revealed a serious blind spot. In particular, they failed to provide appropriate, reasonable, or timely response to this serious case of workplace discrimination. This also revealed that Cisco had not done sufficient training for managerial employees, and in particular addressed the serious issue of casteism in their workplace. In July of 2018, John Doe applied to a new and higher level job within the company. The interviewer, in their notes, identified John Doe as being below average in several categories and ultimately did not give him the job. However, the interview was improperly influenced by Iyer, who had made many retaliatory remarks and actions against John Doe. In fact, in the interviewer's notes, it was written that John Doe was not given the job because of his alleged insubordination and the fact that he was demoted. which itself was because of caste discrimination. In April 2018, John Doe finally filed a complaint directly to the California Department for Fair Employment and Housing. After a year and a half of thorough investigation and review, the department found that John Doe's claim against Cisco for caste discrimination had strong merit. Usually these reviews and investigations only take about 6 months, but the reason that this took 3 times as long was because of the complexities and intricacies of caste discrimination and the fact that this was completely new for Cisco as well as for the department. Ultimately, the department asked Cisco to settle the case through compensation, but Cisco denied to accept this settlement. On June 29, 2020, the Equal Employment Opportunity Center, EEOC, authorized the department to file a lawsuit against Cisco. The following day, on June 30th, the DFEH filed a lawsuit against Cisco, and in a statement emphasized that employers ought to address discrimination based on caste in the workplace. Are you facing open discrimination or silent exclusion based on caste? If you are, join our support group now. Reach our anti-caste helpline in the United States by calling 1-844-66-UNITE.